everybody to our third episode of Quarantine Cuisine, where we like to prepare some foods and share our recipes and preparation methods with you. Well, there's nothing better than a steak, and tonight we're going to prepare some great Striploin steaks that we have here. Absolutely amazing cut of meat. These are boneless, some good marbling throughout here. But the method we're going to do, we're going to walk you through is we're going to do this sous vide, which essentially is sealing the meat in a plastic bag, dropping it in a water bath, and cooking it through about medium rare, which would be about 130 degrees, and then finishing it on a cast iron pan after that. And why this method's really good is if you know when you grill a steak or you cook it on a frying pan, generally you'll notice that the inside tends to be pinkier and then the outside tends to turn a little more grayish or a little bit more done. What sous vide does is it makes sure that there's a perfect temperature, so it'll be 130 degrees right throughout from end to end, and just finishing it with some butter and some herbs after just kind of sears it up and gives it a really good texture on the outside and some additional flavor as well. So that's the protein for tonight. We're going to actually do it's called a potato fondant, which is essentially a very classically done potato when they're in cylinders, and you sear them with some butter, put some chicken stock inside, and then finish it in the oven after as well. We'll probably add a little bit of truffle oil just for some additional flavor on this as well. And then we're going to do some roasted bell peppers, just very simple in the oven with some balsamic, some oil, and some garlic as a side for our vegetable. And then probably some pan roasted mushrooms that we're going to fry up as well at the end. So anyways, let's get started. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to just slice up our bell peppers. I have a red one and an orange one. Actually, I like the flavors of these. I find that the green peppers, well, they're good in some situations. These are much sweeter, so I really prefer these if we're going to have it just as a side. So really, the easy way to do a pepper is just to slice it along the side. This way you don't have to cut it halfway, get all the seeds out, worry about banging the seeds all around the place. So this really just comes out very, very nicely, just like that. Very easy to slice. Put them into just chunks like this. That's all we really need. We're going to roast them up nice. I'm going to put some balsamic vinegar, some olive oil, some garlic, some salt and pepper, and that will be it. Put these in the pot really quickly. A little pot here. Toss them inside of here. Some chunks of garlic. Again, nothing really too fine, just chop it up nicely, nice chunks. Okay, now that we've got the peppers sliced up with some garlic chunks in the pot here, now we're just going to season it. So very simply, just olive oil, balsamic vinegar, and the balsamic vinegar, once these peppers start roasting in the oven, tends to sweeten up very nicely. So even though we've got some better quality balsamic that we use, which tends to be fairly sweet to begin with, I find that it actually really sweetens up everything. So it's a nice complement to the peppers. So simply just mix this up, making sure that all the peppers are coated nicely. And then this is going to go in the oven at around 400 degrees for about 20 to 30 minutes. And I'll just check for doneness. We don't want them overly tender. We want a little bit of a bite to them, but just want a nice roast on this as well. So this is all set to go in the oven now. Okay, next we're going to prepare our potato fondant. So we already have the potatoes already peeled just to get some extra steps. So really how you want to cut these, you want to cut the ends off so this is flat on both ends, and then turn it on its end. And what we want to do is really just try to make some good, clean, straight lines around here. So you're trying to get almost like a shape of a cylinder, so to speak. So it's probably not perfect there, but that's good enough right there. There is a little bit of waste behind this, which is unfortunate. And then you cut these directly in half, and then what you're going to see is you're going to have these little cylinders here. And after this gets done, I'm just going to toss it in a bowl of cold water. And what that's going to do, just for a few minutes, and what that's going to do is going to help take the take the starch off of the potato a little bit before we get going and start cooking these potatoes off. So that's it. That's the preparation of the potatoes, just to be able to get them cut into cylinders about the same size. And then we're going to go on now to prepare the potato fondant. That has to go in the oven as well. And the peppers are already in the oven, so we're good for now. Okay, now that we've got our vegetables prepared, it's now time to turn to the steak. So very simple method here for preparing the steaks. We're just going to put a little bit of salt and pepper on both sides. We don't need anything more than that. If I grill my steaks, I usually try to put a steak spice on it or something a little bit more, but for sous vide, we're going to finish everything in the pan after anyway, so we'll add some herbs to that, and then we'll be good to go. But you know, for this preparation, really nothing more than salt and pepper in a sous vide bath. Just gives a little bit of seasoning before it goes in the sous vide bags. So the steak is done. Simple as that. Okay, so we're ready to put the steaks into the sous vide bath. So here are the steaks right here. I do have a food saver vacuum sealer, so these are vacuum packed. Again, just with simple salt and pepper on the steaks, and we vacuum packed them and sealed them nice, individually of course. And this is the sous vide machine. The one that I have is called Anova. Essentially what it is, has a heating device inside with a circulating fan to keep the water bath moving. I've set the temperature to 130 degrees Fahrenheit, which will make sure that the steak gets cooked perfect medium rare from one part to the other. And of course, this is kind of a cool one because this has a Wi-Fi device as well, so I can set everything directly from my handle. So probably a little bit too much of a gadget, but it works. So anyways, that's all we do is, while this is coming up to temp, it's almost 129 degrees right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw the steaks right into the water bath here. They're all individually sealed. That's really important. And then I'll put them in here, making sure that all the steaks are covered with water, and the circulating fan will make sure that the water really gets circulated very nicely while this is cooking. So we're going to put it in here for 1 hour and they'll be done perfectly to medium rare. And we're going to get on with other prep for our meal tonight as well. So this is going to take about an hour to do before we go to the pan to finish. And let's get on with the rest of the meal. Okay, cooking the potato fondant is really a two-step process. Part of it's prepared on the stovetop, and then it's the rest of it just bakes in the oven after that. So we got the pan good and hot here. I'm going to take some high smoke point oil. So I'm just going to use some vegetable oil just to get enough in the pan here, get that all heated up very nicely. And while that's getting hot, I'm going to toss the potatoes in on the bottom. I'm using a fairly small pan for this for two reasons. Number one, keep everything together nice, but moreover, because we're going to add some stock to this after, and if you use a very big pan, then you have to use an excess amount of liquid. So this kind of fits the 6 pieces, the 3 potatoes very, very nicely. So we're going to season this up with some salt and pepper. And again, don't have to be shy on the salt with potatoes because the potatoes tend to absorb the salt. So we're going to put a little bit here, put some pepper on top as well. And we'll let these cook up nice. Wait till they brown on the bottom. We want a really nice look to the bottom. Nothing like that. We really want to get them good. And excuse me from the pepper. So there's the chef sneezing on camera. Don't worry, it is not COVID-19. It's just a pepper sneeze. So I think we're okay. So we have 3 potatoes cut in half, so 6 pieces. And now I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of butter into the mix here. Turn that down nice. And just when this butter starts to foam up, and once it all melts here nice, and the butter starts to foam up, I'm going to add just a little bit of truffle oil for some extra flavor. Don't really need a lot of this because it's pretty intense, the flavor itself. And then it's going to add a really nice flavor to these potatoes as well. So as you can see, the butter's starting to foam up. I just want to make sure it's all melted. Ah, looking delicious. Just turn these over a little bit, get some butter on this side as well, each of them. Potatoes getting coated nice. Okay, the butter's all melted now, and you can see the butter is a bit foamy. So before the butter gets overcooked, I'm going to go ahead and pour the stock inside here. This is just chicken stock, so I'm going to go ahead and pour that in here. Bring it up to about halfway on the potatoes. Looking great. Okay, so this is step one of the cooking process here. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put this in the oven at 425 degrees. I'm using a Yukon Gold potato as opposed to a russet, which they recommend. So I think this is going to take just a little longer to cook than a russet would. But I'm going to go ahead and throw that in the oven now for about half an hour, and we're going to test them at that point, maybe a bit longer. So this part is done on the potato fondant. Okay, so let's talk about our wine pairing for the meal tonight. So first we talk about our quaffing wine. That's the wine that we affectionately call as the wine that we have a sip of before dinner, while we're preparing dinner. So tonight we have a 2019 Chardonnay. It's a light colored Chardonnay with oak. And how do I know this? Well, actually this is our homemade wine that we made in September of last year. It's been sitting in the cellar downstairs racking with some oak inside it since December, and then I actually opened it up the other day, had a sample of it, and it's actually delicious. It's very, very smooth for a young wine, and for a homemade wine, it's actually quite incredible. But let's talk about the main event for tonight. The main event is a product put out by the Wagner family from Camas Vineyards in California. It's called Red Schooner Voyage 7. So this wine is really incredible. It's actually it's a full-bodied wine. It's got some hints of oak, some hints of tobacco in it. It's very jammy and fruit-forward. So it's a really nice full-bodied wine. I think it's going to pair very nicely with our meal tonight, with the potatoes, of course, with the truffle and the striploin steaks done sous vide. We're going to finish those with some herbs and some in the cast iron pan at the end, and of course our balsamic and peppers with garlic as well. So anyways, that's the wine pairing for tonight. Okay, so now we're going to prepare some pan roasted mushrooms. So we have a pan here, we have some vegetable oil which has a high smoke point, which is important. Just getting this to be nice and hot. And then we're going to add our mushrooms. Now, the interesting thing about cooking mushrooms is, you know, we tend to want to kind of stir them up or whatever. The idea with mushrooms is you just let them sit. So you put them on as best you can with one layer. We're just going to let them sit here like this until they brown up on the bottom. Because if you stir them, what happens is that kind of promotes the moisture to come out of the mushrooms, and you end up with, well, soupy mushrooms more than anything. So we're going to let them here kind of just sit here nice and quiet for a few minutes. Not going to touch them at all. Well, I lied. Touch them a little bit, just to even them out a little bit. But we're going to let these sit here nice and just, you know, on a high heat with, I just use vegetable oil, which has a pretty high smoke point, so it doesn't burn, it doesn't smoke. So we're going to let these sit here nice and just kind of brown on the bottom for a few minutes. Okay, these should be in pretty good shape. It seems like they're browning up on the bottom. I'm going to throw a nub of butter in here, so I'm going to break it up a little bit just to get the butter moved all the way around the pan. I'm going to season this with some salt and pepper. toss some white wine in here. And while we're doing that, I'm going to actually put on this large flame here to sear our meat in a minute. So you hear something else going on here clicking along. We're trying to get the cast iron pan heated up at the same time. Okay, so I think the mushrooms are pretty much done. I'm going to just let them simmer a little bit more here so we can actually get rid of the liquid that's in there and brown them up very nice. But I think we're good for now. Okay, we're all set to finish our meat. It came out of sous vide, and as you can see, it doesn't look very appetizing, to be honest, but the meat is done perfectly medium rare from end to end, and this is why we need to finish it on the stovetop. So anyways, we have our cast iron grill here that is flaming hot right now, and all I'm going to do is add a couple of nubs of butter inside here. Might turn that down just a little bit. We're going to toss our steaks inside here as well. We've got some sprigs of thyme that are going to go inside. And the idea here is really just to sear these off very nicely. Now it's cold here in Canada this time of the year, and normally we'd have our fan going like crazy, except it makes a lot of noise. So we've got windows open on either end of the house, and hopefully that'll stop the smoke from actually hitting the smoke alarm here. But I think, no, there's our nest. Our nest is in perfect time here. So anyways, I think we're in good shape. Okay, so smoke alarm is done. Now we're ready to go to the plate. So we've got these beautifully done steaks here. We got our potato fondant coming out of the oven. We've got mushrooms done as well, and our beautiful roasted peppers here as well. So we're going to be a few minutes away. We're just going to let the steak rest just for a minute or so, and then we're going to get everything on the plate. Looking forward to eating this fantastic meal. Okay, now we're ready to go to the plate after all that drama. So ordinarily we would actually serve this on a large board, slice up all the steak very nicely, put all the accoutrements on there, the peppers, the mushrooms, the potatoes. But because we're in the midst of a pandemic and we are trying to social distance at home, we're going to serve and individually plate these. So to begin with, we're going to put a steak on the plate, just like that. We're going to actually serve some peppers on the side of this as well. And then we'll put 2 potato fondants on the plate. These are absolutely delicious. And then I'll just get some mushrooms here. We'll put these on the side, maybe just on top of the steak. How's that? That actually looks very good right there. So just a couple little mushrooms on top of there. Make the plate look well. And then here you have it. So we have our striploin done medium rare, sous vide, finished in a cast iron pan with thyme and some butter and a smoke alarm. Then we have the potato fondant done in the oven with some truffle oil as well. We have the roasted red and orange peppers with mushrooms topped on top as well. So anyways, we're looking forward to enjoying this meal. It took a little longer to prepare than I imagined tonight, but it's all good. So that's it for tonight. We'll look forward to episode 4 tomorrow.